All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Manny, Goose, and Tom Rudesyle. Outta Sight Studios. In this episode, we have special guest Tom Rudesyle. We cover topics that range from being an artist, entrepreneurship, freelance / commissioned work, tattoos, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Jim Rohn and Conrad Hilton. Guys, if you're new, thank you for listening. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, sir. Tom Rudesyle, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I know we gave us a shot a little while ago, but the busy schedule didn't dictate us making it. But tonight we're here.
But what's important is we're here tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, so for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let it rip.
Well, basically, I'm a self-taught artist from the borough. I've done artwork my whole life. I pretty much grew up as one of the kids in class, you know, that could draw real good, and I knew from an early age that
Did you draw on the desk?
My passion. No, I was a good boy, you know what I mean? I was always trying to make money, so if I wasn't making a couple bucks, I probably wasn't going to do it. So, no, I actually, I got an airbrush when I was in like 7th grade. Wow. And, you know, this was back in the 80s when graffiti and the whole breakdancing scene and everything was at its height. So I started at a young age, you know, doing people's shirts and hats and pants and this and that. And I guess I always had a little bit of the entrepreneurial way about myself. And I started at, you know, a fairly early age. But like I said, I always was into art from the time I was very young. And it's something that I knew I wanted to, you know, do one way or another. Yeah. Obviously, when you're a little kid, you don't really know quite what you want to do with it. I mean, I thought I wanted to be an architect because the father on the Brady Bunch was an architect. You know, he had a cool room with like the desk and all that, and that was really the only artistic job that I really knew like of, you know, when I was really little. But then, you know, other things kind of come around and you start to see what's what. And then I wanted to really get into special effects actually because I like Star Wars and all those types of movies, you know, back in the day. And I thought that was real interesting, making all the models and the special effects and, you know, different things like that. But I think way back then, I mean, there wasn't really that many avenues to do that. It was more like you had to almost go to California where they made the movies and stuff, I think, you know. So as I got a little older into high school and everything like that, I didn't think that was really so much of a reality, you know what I mean, for myself. But yeah, I've always been into art one way or another, whether working for myself or someone else from the time I was a senior in high school. And then, like I said, prior to that, you know, I was always doing the shirts and had everybody geared up at school with all my stuff, you know, rocking the airbrush gear. So, awesome. Yeah, it was cool.
By any chance, were you influenced by Bob Ross?
Bob Ross. Well, Bob Ross had that calm, soothing voice, which kind of was like always fun. Yeah, there was actually, I think he was an older German painter. I don't think a lot of people remember him, but he was very similar, painted the same types of landscapes and stuff. I actually kind of remember him a little bit more the 70s and stuff. And then Bob Ross kind of, you know, took over and became a little more famous, I think, just, you know, throughout culture in general. Mm-hmm. Then I found out something a couple years ago, actually, that he was in the military or something. Yeah. And it's like you can't really picture him, right? Like, you know, maybe giving orders or even just being like, whatever. He's like, yo, get on the plane. Yeah,
it's funny. What I found myself, so I want to explain a little bit of, you know, the kinds of artwork you started like messing around with, because obviously that's a different type. You know, the oil painting is one aspect of, you know, your artistic ability. Graffiti is another. Did you ever get into like the cartoon work or any of that? That was one thing. There was a show, because we're talking about shows. I forget what the show was called, but this dude would show you how to draw cartoons. And not that I was a good artist, it was just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I remember from the time I was in grade school, definitely before I even started airbrushing or anything like that, we would make, you know, like little comic books and stuff. Yeah. Because back in the 70s into the early 80s and whatnot, Mad Magazine was real popular, and there was another one called I think it was Crazy or Cracked or something like that.
Yeah.
And they had so many different cool kind of different artists were doing, a couple pages or something. Then there'd be a featured page with another artist. There'd be some kind of cool thing where you would like bend the pages and it would make like a different picture out of another picture.
Yeah.
Which was like all kind of cool stuff. So, back then, obviously there wasn't the type of, there was no internet certainly, right? And there wasn't that much even going on as far as TV is concerned, or different ways for you to view things or art for that matter, what have you. So comic books were like really, a young aspiring artist main source of, artwork, to tell you the truth. So, we used to always make our own little books and doodle things up. And then you'd do the little stick figure and you flip the page and you'd kind of move and make your own like, animation and stuff like that. So, for sure, I think I did just about, everything you would be doing.
Do you still have any of that stuff? Or any piece of artwork from like when you were younger or...
Well,
early days?
My wife does think I'm a little bit of a hoarder, so sorry, I have a lot of stuff from when I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
To tell you the truth, neatly tucked away, of course, not just on display everywhere. But it was fun sometimes to look at, and now that I have children myself, show them every once in a while, like this was Dad's, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact I have a couple things like at my tattoo shop and everything, I get to kind of put my little knickknacks out.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and not leave them in the Tupperware container all alone in the garage. You know what I'm saying? They're on display for the world to enjoy. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I wish I had more. I mean, I wish I had all my Star Wars stuff in boxes still.
Right.
But, I don't know many kids that left them in boxes. You know what I mean? So there goes probably thousands of dollars out the window that I decapitated Princess Leia and stuff when I was a kid. You know what I mean? But yeah.
That's awesome. Do you remember your first commission job?
No, I mean, because it would probably be the shirts. And, like I said, when I started airbrushing, at an early age, I started, getting paid and everything. And that was my way to, obviously make a couple bucks on the side and be able to save up and, buy a pair of Jordans or something like that.
Right.
And everything like that. But no, I would have no idea, to tell you the truth. I do remember back in, I went to Catholic school to 8th grade. And we used to have, it was called Blue and Gold. Day, night, whatever. It was like the competition, between the
spirit night or whatever.
Yeah. So, again, this was from like a pretty young age. The school only went up to 8th grade, so we were all, relatively young. Even what we considered to be like the seniors in the school were young. But everybody would make like some sort of poster or what have you, to hang, and the one side would be all the blue team, the one side would be all the gold team, and there was a couple times that I made some pretty decent posters for, a kid that was 4th, 5th, 6th grade, whatever.
Right.
And more than once my poster was unfortunately stolen at the end of the night.
Oh, man.
So there's a couple designs, one specifically of Gene Simmons with a huge glittered tongue. That might be on a milk carton somewhere. Then I'm still looking for that. So whoever stole that poster from me in grade school,
I need that.
If you still have it, it might be worth a couple dollars. But my poor Gene Simmons got jacked.
Wow.
But that was an ultimate compliment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To tell you the truth. So, yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so fast forward. How does one go from the fascination of artwork, understanding like, all right, I got a gift here. This is definitely something I want to pursue, to then having multiple pieces throughout the town you grew up in. I mean, how does that even happen, or what does that feel like? 'Cause it's just cool.
Well, obviously, it's every time I get to do something, whether now I'm primarily tattooing, I still do the murals. On occasion, if it's a cool job and the schedule can dictate that I do so and whatnot. But every time I get a job, I'm obviously very thankful. I mean, art is one of those types of things that it's certainly not a need for anyone, whatever it is. So when you get to do something, it's a compliment that they're wanting you specifically to do whatever it is for them. And it's a joy to be able to do something, obviously, that you enjoy, right? So ever since I was young, I knew that that's where my passion was, and I was just stubborn enough that I wanted to pursue it no matter what, it took or whatever. And different situations in my home life led to me not going to college and everything. It was a decision that I made myself, not to get too into it, but my mother was a little sick around that time and I was an only child and stuff. So I didn't want to go too far away, although I was accepted at a lot of schools and places as far as California, Florida, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then I got accepted at University of Arts in Philadelphia, downtown. And it's kind of funny. I remember laughing with my mom. We went down. I had orientation and everything. And, this is back in 1990. So what artists kind of looked like back then were the girl in Beetlejuice, which was like head to toe in black, with like black nail polish, like kind of, if anybody knows the group The Cure,
right?
Black hair, black eyeliner, black, like, it was the beginning of kind of like goth and like all that stuff. And here I am, like, 18 years old from Bristol, grew up with all nationalities, what have you, played, sports and everything. And, grew up breakdancing and all this kind of jazz. Right. And I'm in there and I'm like looking at my mom, like, who the heck am I going to be friends with? Like, into school is like crazy, man. No one looked like that at all in Bristol, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, goodness gracious, like I stick out like a sore thumb. First of all, here I am. I probably still got like my nameplate belt on, and like, and stuff. You know what I mean? And everybody else is like all depressed and like black nail polish and stuff. And I'm like, oh goodness. So again, due to circumstances and stuff, I didn't end up going. And when you're young, you think that a couple months, a year, two, even whatever, you could always go back and, nothing's going to change. But then, you start living your life, you start getting some bills, maybe you start working. And I was lucky enough, I started working at a sign shop in Ben Salem my senior year of high school after basketball was over. And I just decided to do that because it was kind of up my alley, you know, and I ended up getting some good experience there. But it was not really the type of artwork that I ultimately wanted to do. It wasn't really painting or anything like that. It was kind of just the vinyl lettering and all that jazz when that was kind of coming out. And it was cool because I was young, it was a job and it was still, again, in my field, but caught up to me after a while and I wanted more. So then I kind of quit without a plan. And I got lucky. I stumbled onto the old restaurant Kahunaville, which used to be in the Oxford Valley Mall.
That's right.
And it was pretty cool. So I got kind of lucky. I met the owner and told him that I had experience doing different things and whatnot. And they had already hired a company from Florida to do all the fancy, painting and things like that. But he must have seen something in me and felt like, I'll give this young guy a chance. But I was 25, so I wasn't really that young.
Sure.
But he called me up the next day. I went in and started helping, and it was enough to get my foot in the door. I did whatever they needed me to do, and then before you know it, I was on the road, building the new restaurants. And by the time it was done, I basically had a crew of carpenters, underneath me that I was managing, showing them how to do stuff. And a lot of the restaurants were built on my sketches and, all kind of stuff like that. So I learned a lot just even about construction and, different things like that, how to get up super early and work all day and all night and do it 7 days a week for like 3 months straight. But I had a really good time. I mean, I was fortunate. I got out, I was allowed to travel a lot with that job. And, then something in me still wanted more, and I feel like a lot of times when you're an artist, you always want a different challenge, or you just want to change, or it just could be your personality in general anyway, to just, not get kind of stagnant with anything, So Upton did the same thing again, kind of quit without a plan. But luckily I had made enough contacts with that, that I was able to start painting the murals and everything on my own.
Nice.
And I did real well with it for a while. I did that for, a decent number of years. Same thing. I traveled, for a decent bit of time, painting and whatnot. And then people started to know me more and more. I mean, I was always kind of known around town as being an artist and everything. But then I got lucky to Barrow, asked me to do a few things and this and that. And obviously one is right across from our lovely Miguel's Barbershop here that is in the background of a lot of pictures.
That thing's Bristol's landmark.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Almost got hit by a couple cars. while I was doing it because they were distracted and people were waving at me and all that, which was kind of nice. But, then I got the old window came down on a car. I'm up on the scaffold with paint in my hand and a brush. And the gentleman says, "Excuse me, are you painting that?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm holding the paintbrush for the guy that's painting it." You know what I mean? Yes, I'm painting it. But it's cool. A lot of times when you're working in the public like that, people are just fascinated to watch you. And they just kind of want to talk to you and stuff. But that was a good one. That was one of the funnier ones.
So for those of you who can't or don't know, have not yet been in Bristol Borough, it's a huge mural up inside against a wall. It used to be a Coca-Cola mural prior to Tom's painting, and I guess it was like this rejuvenation of Bristol that came into the small businesses, and I guess this was a little project that they wanted to undertake, and I think made it much better than what it was. It's pretty cool. And where we're located, 105 Market Street, if you look across, we can clearly see this.
Yeah, it's definitely like all of our
classic
pictures, and you see it in the background.
Absolutely. How do you go to something that big, right? Is that totally different than when you're going from a little 8x10 paper or a canvas painting to now you're painting brick? You know what I mean? Like a mural and brick. Is that like a totally different thing, or you're already kind of used to different textures?
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously working outdoor is certainly a little different than working, inside, whether it's a mural or not. Obviously it's different than working on paper or a canvas, right? But scale sometimes does, change things up a little bit for you. There's certainly a little bit more planning that goes into it, to tell you the truth. And, that one what we're talking about specifically is manageable. It's not like so crazy big, but you see some of the ones down in the city and everything. I mean, a whole side of a building. Yeah, it's like crazy planning, and like just laying it out ahead of time is actually the hardest part. Yeah, the painting of it certainly requires, skill, and you have to nail it. But getting it laid out and all that is almost just as much, if not more, work, and the proportions, and it can get away from you. Some people, don't really like working up in size. They just totally lose it. I actually prefer it, to be honest with you. I feel like I have more room to work and able to get the details in there and everything like that. I see these pictures or where, whatever like people, and again, whatever the medium is, but working like really tiny, almost like, you need like look at it under a microscope, and so I have no idea how, like, that's this little paintbrush, like this, all these little details and stuff. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, that would make my head explode, to be honest with you.
So for me, what would drive my anxiety through a roof would be like the weather. Like, were you looking at the weather? Like, is it going to rain today? Is it gonna, is it windy? When did you do that? Like,
yes, I did it in the spring, and of course it rained, a good bit at a time. Luckily, because the way the building is, the wind wasn't really blowing the rain on me. I was kind of shielded, to be honest with you, most of the time. But then it got to a point, once or twice where I had to wrap it up. So of course it plays a factor. You can't really paint when it's too cold, and then sometimes it can be so super hot too. I was doing one outside. It was in July, and it was over literally like 100 degrees, and the paint was literally dried on the brush by the time I dipped it.
Oh my gosh!
And like went to the wall almost. It was like chalk by the time I was like dragging it onto the wall. So either extreme is not fantastic. You know what I mean? Plus, us artists are very like, everything's got to be perfect.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The conditions got to be just right.
Absolutely.
For the creative process.
So is that something you talk to, whoever is...
Myself?
Yeah. Well, no, like when
I talk to myself sometimes.
We have to. When it comes to like time frame, like how do you judge things like that? And is it something that motivates you and pushes you when you have like a week to do this or 2 months to do this, whatever it is? Is that something that pushes you, or is it kind of like restricts you? Or depends?
Well, only in some cases will you get a true deadline, like this has to be done by this time. And in that case, then you're either just going to have to work around the clock, or maybe cater the design, so it's not so insanely detailed and crazy. But no, I feel like, once you get going, you kind of get in that quote unquote zone where like time just flies and you're just doing your thing, you know, and, I actually, I really enjoy that part of it. I could stand in front of like the same wall for 2 or 3 weeks straight painting this, huge, crazy picture.
So what's
be in my glory,
Explain a little bit what's going on in your mind. Is it like the end, like what you want it to look like, or is it while you're thinking? Are you thinking like? Because there's some times where I'm caught up, and by no means am I comparing your work to what I do, but I'll be in the middle of something that I need, like even if I'm typing up a paper and then thinking about, oh my God, I got to pick up the kids at X, Y, and Z. Do you get kind of like lost in that sense, or you just kind of really stay focused on what this is supposed to be?
Well, obviously, if it's something as important as picking up the kids, then
Sure.
you better remember that, right? And not get too zoned out in your creative endeavors.
Right.
But no, for the most part, when I'm designing something or whatever, I kind of have to picture the finished product, in my mind, right off the bat. But then once you start preparing to actually do the project, and it's the same with even tattooing now, it's almost kind of like a big puzzle where, one step leads to another step to another step. And before you know it, the layers kind of start coming together and everything like that, that's the one thing that's interesting sometimes when you're working in the public view,
right?
Like with a mural, you'll get the questions too, where it was literally like the second day in, and it was just a plain beige face with like bright red lips and like no eyeballs and stuff. And they're like, is that finished? I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean? I hope not. It's going to scare everybody, So sometimes the process, it's hard obviously for just, most just people who don't do art themselves to really see where you're going with it until it's all said and done. But no, I can obviously, pretty much visualize the finished product, and then I just break it down in my head, like the steps that I need to take to get from A to B to C to D to E, F and all that jazz. So
I like it.
Yeah, man.
Paint by numbers, or letters in your case. All right. So we're titling this Outta Sight Studios. That is the name of your tattoo business. Is this, can you explain how you got into then that transition, or you transitioned to tattooing, or is it something you always did, and how you took it to that next level as a small business?
Well, first of all, Outta Sight, you could tell I was born in the 70s. I feel like that's kind of like like something like a saying from back then. I used to do drawings for people to get tattooed because I didn't do it, a few years back. And, every time I would give someone a drawing, they would be like, oh man, I wish you could just do it yourself type of thing, And
Okay,
I don't know. Like, I don't know how to do it really. Like I never really was around anybody doing it or whatever. I was so caught up in the murals and painting and traveling and this and that. And stuff. So one time I went down to the city. It was probably one of the very first conventions that they ever had. And, tattooing wasn't quite as popular back then as this is in the 90s, So I'm talking like Dennis Rodman maybe had like one tattoo at this time. It wasn't really nothing. Yeah. No athletes had it. I mean, it was really just getting started as far as mainstream. So there wasn't that many shops really. They were, shops that had been around probably for a long time. It was the old, crew, the old school tattooers and stuff, which obviously, paved the way for everyone. But they told me about the 3-year apprenticeship, and then, you got to do this and that and this and that. And at that time I was just a little too busy I didn't have 3 years to just, go to someone's shop at that point in my life. So I figured, this is impossible, to get into. So I just stayed doing my thing. And then occasionally I would do drawings for people. Then it started getting super popular, all the shows start coming on TV, this and that. And then I started kind of thinking to myself, well, geez, I don't know, maybe I might be able to do that. Like, I could do pretty much all these other types of things in art. And that's the one thing with me. I've always been kind of stubborn, and I'm self-taught with everything, where I feel like if I just kind of start messing with it, I'll figure it out and be able to learn and teach myself and have some success eventually, which, knock on wood, luckily I have been, up to this point, whatever the medium is that I've decided to, try to mess with. So I was talking to my wife, who at that time was just, my girlfriend, and she did me a solid and surprised me for Christmas and bought me, a little starter kit of
That's awesome.
machine and ink and all that jazz. So, I have this machine now, and I'm like, all right, I guess there's no excuses, you know? So I had one buddy who had a shop, in Philly, and I kind of picked his brain just a little bit to kind of get some of the basics and stuff like that. And then I started practicing on fruit a couple times, and then luckily I have
lizard. No,
I have a lot of crazy friends in Bristol.
Nice.
Who trusted me and knew me, as already being an artist. So I do have to say thank you so much to everyone who, really did let me practice on them. In the beginning. And, I only did it sporadically because I still was painting at that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I was doing like every day religiously either. It was kind of here and there. And I didn't really know what was what still, to be honest with you.
Sure.
I mean, technology's come so far since then. Like now, I had an apprentice at my shop. We just got another girl there who's starting off. And even with that, just the equipment and different things that in the last like 10, 12 years, are so different. And to tell you the truth, the apprenticeship really probably is the right way to do it. I just, was a little older. I knew I was going to be serious about it. So I got lucky. I was able to do it. And now obviously I have a successful shop and things like that. But anyone who does want to get into it, just because the equipment is readily available online to anyone nowadays, like years ago, there was only a few places that really sold supplies.
Yeah.
And I know a few of them wouldn't even send them to like a residential address. Like it had to be shipped to like a shop. And that kind of ensured that like a lot of people weren't just doing them.
Right.
And it's something that, a lot of people just think, or they like tattoos, or they think they could draw a little bit, whatever, they start doing it. And it really is not that easy, to tell you the truth. Like you could really jack some stuff up there. And not to mention the health of your client and those other things can potentially, be disastrous. So do the apprenticeship. It really is the right thing to do. If anyone's out there listening that wants to be a tattoo artist, learn from somebody who knows what they're doing, do it properly, and everything like that. So that would be my one little tidbit of advice, even though I didn't follow it myself.
No, for sure. How does one go from, tattooing, friends and family to taking it serious to a point where you open up a business? What was that leap like?
Well, it's like anything else when you try to open any sort of business. It's scary, you don't know if you're going to get the clientele to sustain the business. You just got to dive in, but you have to also be confident in whatever it is that you're doing, the product either that you're selling, the service you're offering, whatever it may be. You kind of have to be at least to a point where you know that your service is worth opening to the public and everything like that. So I wouldn't have done anything until I was comfortable, that I felt what I was doing was worth, someone coming into an actual business and paying for. But it's scary, it's good and bad. Obviously, when you're your own boss, you have flexibility in your schedule, which is super nice. I have, 3 little ones who, I haven't said hello to yet, but I want to send a shout out to Vinny, Gavin, and Eviana, my 3 lovely children. And I already mentioned my wife, Erica, who again got me kind of started with the Christmas present.
That's cool.
Awesome. With my tattoo machine. Cool. So, but I just jumped in and, you let it roll, what I mean? But it's good. You have flexibility with schedule, and you could work late hours or book yourself till you're blue in the face if you have to, or if you need to. But then you can also hopefully take a day here or a day there, for yourself or your family, or if an emergency comes up, it's not quite as bad as like, always having to bring a doctor's note into an employer or something like that. So there's a lot of good things, but obviously all the bills come with your name on them, right? So
sure.
But it's the good outweighs the bad for sure, and I'm sure Miguel feels the same way.
Absolutely. So one of the things we always bring up or ask when we have business owners is, now this is your business. You get to a point where you yourself, you're like, I don't know when it happened for you, but I could either use help, or we have two available stations where we could have 2 more artists in here, or an apprentice, whatever. When you get to that point, what we talked about with previous business owners was this is a really tough point in their path, I guess, because now it's almost like you're hiring someone who's also carrying your name. It's the Outta Studios artist now, sure. And you got to be super selective. How did that process work for you?
Well, first of all, I don't know how people who own like a big corporation. I mean, I know there's several different layers of management and different things like that, but I have no idea how you like have even over 30, 40, 50 people, let alone like thousands of people, employed by you. It's like totally insane. I don't know. You just have to, same thing. You have to take a chance with people.
Yeah.
You try to get a good read on those people. I've had a couple people come through, male and female, who haven't worked out.
Yeah.
Whether it be our personalities. I mean, I have to get a good vibe off of a person. We're in the same space with each other for X amount of hours. Sure. That definitely has to jive. In our business, again, people are paying us to do a service for them, but we're basically torturing them for a couple of hours, right?
Right.
So you got to be somewhat talkative, friendly. You want to put the person at ease. At least that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten a pretty good reputation, as such. We like to make everybody, feel comfortable. We do a lot of different ages, from young, girls that actually their parents are coming in and signing for them at 16, getting their first tattoo, to some women who are in their 60s or even 70s, and they're coming in with their daughter and granddaughter, and they're all doing something together, which is super cool,
Definitely.
So, we do a little bit of everything for everyone. But as far as the employees concerned, I mean, with art, you can usually see some sort of portfolio. So you have at least that to judge. It's not like you're just kind of, hiring someone without no knowledge whatsoever of what they're doing. But, you have to roll the dice, hope that you get a good vibe from them, and then keep your fingers crossed that it works out. And when it does, it's nice, Mm-hmm. You have people that you can count on. You have people that you can grow your business with. But certainly, everything that comes out, again, whether it's a haircut from Miguel's or obviously the tattoo with my business, whoever does it, it still has Outta Studios attached to it.
Absolutely.
So, you just got to hope that they're treating the client as well as you would, and everything like that. So, but it's good. Sometimes, it's nice to have a smaller business because it's more like a family,
Absolutely.
And at this stage, I'm kind of picky about, who we're having. My space isn't that big either, so that kind of, would keep me from, having like 20 artists in the shop. But it's good. We had a girl who started as an apprentice 3 years ago, from scratch, and she's worked out unbelievably.
Yeah.
She caught on really fast, and we got her going as fast as possible and taught her, and then let her go. So she's been awesome. And then we just started another girl recently who's super, super talented. Her artwork is unbelievable. And she's going to start practicing on live skin pretty soon.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to seeing her grow, because the art that she's currently doing is really, really like awesome.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've hit a home run with those two, and then I have another guy with me who's been there for a few years, which is awesome too. So
So how does that work? So someone who's first getting started, do they have to bring in their own folks to get started on? Like, for example, if I started, I'm like, I'll tell my 2 brothers, like, dude, let me at least tattoo your thighs or something that no one's gonna see.
You
the bottom of your foot.
Yeah. You have to get your own guinea pigs.
Yeah.
And, obviously we have a release form that everyone fills out prior to getting their tattoo. So that would go without saying. But then we actually have something else that there's signs saying, they realize that this person is just getting started. They're practicing, if the tattoo is not super pristine, we would either touch it up at some point or, not that you're necessarily taking your life in your own hands, but
Sure.
It may not be
sense.
like the most amazing thing you've
Absolutely.
ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And I know even with myself, that's why I said thank you so much to everyone who let me practice, years back. No one's work ultimately looks like it did when they first started.
Absolutely.
I mean, Miguel was using the bowl, right, with the scissors and stuff at first.
Jim was
and
my
all that,
guinea pig.
Should
so...
have seen that. Should have seen that Ferris haircut.
So, I mean, it's like anything else, whatever trade it is or what have you, the more you do it, the more consistently you do it, the better you become. Granted, you have to have some skill.
Sure.
It doesn't mean just anybody can come,
Absolutely.
So, but if you have some skill, you're dedicated to it, and you're passionate about what you're doing, if you do it enough and you're serious about it, then for sure, before too long, it's going to start really looking, like something, and then off you go. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So how do you go from your first location to your second location? Explain where it's at, because we actually had Antoine Lovelace on our podcast in January, I believe, of this year, and one of the spot locations was him showing us. The spot. I don't even think it even got started just yet. Or was it the beginning of this year? Because I feel like it wasn't just open or something, or it was already open and no one was there. I forget.
Yeah,
what it was.
we might have been in between artists or just a little transitional stage over there. It's been good, but it's been interesting because it's hard, obviously, for anyone to be in two places at once. So
absolutely.
I feel like sometimes it could get away from you a little bit if you're not physically there, like the whole time. And everything like that. But it was something that Twan and I had talked about actually even before he opened his barbershop, the original one.
Yeah.
We were looking for a space just because we thought the idea was kind of cool that the two would maybe go together.
Absolutely.
And again, obviously, you're not getting a tattoo right next to someone getting their hair cut. It's in a separate room with a door on it.
Absolutely.
So we got close on one property, and then for whatever reason, I really can't remember, things fell through, and Twan ended up finding the other space, and it just wasn't really suitable for both of us to do our thing.
Sure.
And it was probably for the best because we were able to both go our own separate way and establish our businesses, on our own. And then eventually he stumbled onto this current location. And it's basically like a big old house. So there's like several different rooms in it and things like that. And we talked about it again and we figured, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So yeah, we have a second little spot inside of Laced in Humeville.
Absolutely. All right. So switching gears up a little bit, let's talk about your clients. Is there anything that you just do not do? So if someone comes up to you and, wants to get something either religious that's outrageous against your beliefs, something political that's like crazy on their forehead, or just, is there like a location you will never do? Is there certain things you will never do, or is it?
Yeah. Well, as far as the clients go, the clients are awesome. 3 out of the 4 gentlemen sitting here with me right now
Absolutely
have been in my chair.
We have been christened
on a few occasions. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess, I would say there's the few most obvious things that maybe you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's your body. It's the way you want to express yourself. I myself did not have my face or anything tattooed, which is actually, to tell you the truth, a little bit rare for a tattoo artist.
Right.
Not to be covered from head to toe. My wife likes my face the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it's kind of whatever floats your boat, to be honest with you, as far as the location and stuff. There would just maybe be a few taboo, things that maybe you wouldn't want to associate it with
absolutely
my shop and stuff like that.
So is there someone, or is there clientele, and I'm sure this has happened, but just for entertainment value, that come in with an idea that you don't think is quite yet best developed, let's just say, and you kind of try to gear them towards something maybe better at a better location, or like, that's not gonna look good, or look right on an elbow, for example, versus you might want to get that on your forearm instead because of what you want.
Yeah. Can I lie and say everyone's idea is amazing?
Yeah, sure.
No. Yeah, of course. I mean, as the artist, you ultimately got to give the client, what they want, but sometimes the client, to be honest, doesn't really know maybe what they want totally.
Sure. Yeah.
So, it's a kind of back and forth where the client has to have trust in the artist, and, you have to go through things with them in a way where they don't feel like you're trying to super alter their design or change their mind completely. So,
But do you like that when they want to collaborate with you, or is it something you want somebody to come in there knowing exactly what they want? Or
no,
at least with an open mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, it's better for them to have a little smidge of an idea, because sometimes literally people will come and go, oh man, just do whatever you want. Like, just do anything. And I'm like, oh,
okay.
All right. Like, I mean, my anything might not be your anything, like the way I'm feeling today. So, I mean, so that's a little scary. It's cool because someone just is literally trusting you to just do some crazy art, whatever you feel like doing. Yeah. But I wouldn't really, do that to someone. Not that I would do something outrageous anyway, but sure. I like to have at least, what do you like? Do you like puppies? Do you like?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Tell me something. Do you like broccoli? What is it, dude? You know what I mean? And then we'll go from there. But the one thing is a little frustrating nowadays. And I guess it's the only way for someone to really get their idea across to you, is that people come in with pictures of existing tattoos that they find online.
Yeah.
Sometimes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Get all these hundreds of tattoos and put it together into one.
Well, that's one thing. But the other thing is, like, they literally want that tattoo.
Oh, I see.
Any artist that has any respect, for themselves or the client, or even the other artist that originally did that tattoo, is not just going to copy that tattoo.
Right.
So it's okay because it gives me a little bit of an idea of what you kind of like, at least, right?
Yeah.
But, you have to sometimes, the client doesn't really want to budge too much. They're like, I want this tattoo.
Right.
But you have to get them to kind of back off a smidge and tell them, like, look, let me just redraw it. It's going to be very similar.
Yeah.
But let me just redraw it. Do you really want the exact same thing that someone else has?
Right. Exactly.
And if someone really stops and thinks about it for a minute, the answer is usually no,
Yeah.
But I enjoy when someone just comes in and has a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
No picture, no nothing, and then we could just kind of wing it. And then I get the crazies that come in and say, get the Sharpie out and let's just start doodling right on me.
Yeah.
And let's do it that way, which is fun too. It kind of gets the juices flowing, pretty good. And I like doing that too, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what has been one of your, most memorable or one of your favorites, at least? There's probably a ton, but is there any that kind of stand out?
Besides you guys?
Yeah. It is funny. All of us. Gabe doesn't even have any tattoos, so he is the actual definite.
The big V.
He is the big exception here.
Big V. That's the best.
Absolutely. Is there?
Oh, it's so hard to say.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Do so many.
Yeah.
So many. Mm-hmm. I mean, most days I'm doing 2 or 3 every day.
And depending on what people get, sometimes it's one of those. It could be one of those emotional things where they're doing it in remembrance of someone.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know about Manny, but I know the 3 of us right here.
Yeah,
we all have something that's for somebody on us, and that's probably one of the most popular tattoos that there is. Some sort of remembrance piece for someone. I unfortunately have had, loss of a parent and stuff like that, which was very difficult.
Yeah.
And, I'm not glad that I have that experience, but in a way I'm glad because I can at least sympathize, with the client. A lot of times you're getting someone in and it's like fresh.
Yeah.
And it's something that's just happened.
Yeah.
I've had poor parents in that have lost a child, I've had, people have lost, friends, their parents, what have you, all different ages. And, a lot of times the tattoo's almost more than just a visual to look, and see that to remember, because you don't really need that to remember that person. But it almost helps sometimes with the healing a little bit.
Absolutely.
And it could be something that you didn't do for 10 years after the fact. But just doing it and us laughing about, like, you know, my mom's up there telling him, don't worry, my son's not going to mess, you know, your tattoo, your son's tattoo up or whatever. Yeah. And, you know, it's very rewarding for me to give someone something that I know. And this is just in general with the tattoo, but the remembrance pieces, you know, especially that when they leave, I know I've given that person something that, you know, they're going to have forever. And really be, you know, happy with and make them feel good about the person that they got it for, and everything. So that's nice that we're able to do that, you know. Yeah.
So changing gears one last time.
Do it. Let's do it. I'm warmed up now, so
I like it. All right. So the name Outta Sight Studios. Did you design your own logo? How did that all come about?
The name. I am very indecisive when it comes to that sort of thing. Yeah. I always have been. I'll think of like 300 things. Right. And I just will never be able to pick, you know, one. And then I was going through a couple names, and then I had my OCD had me like on a computer searching, like, was there any business in the entire world named whatever. Right. And, you know, one was maybe like a recording studio in like, you know, Idaho somewhere. Right, all right, scratch that off the list. Right. The next one was like, you know, whatever, a massage parlor in like Budapest. Scratch that off the list. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't know why, I must have been watching Good Times or something, but Outta Sight came to mind. And I thought it was cool. And I said, Outta Sight Studios, boom. Like, I didn't want to have tattoo in the name, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Plus, because I do other types of artwork still, I wanted it just kind of like more of a generic art studio type of name. Yeah. And then it just kind of Outta Sight. All right, I'll rock it maybe, and, you know, whatever. And then the logo kind of started coming about. And, things just kind of came together. And I just told myself, all right, that's it. You're going to get the trademark and the LLC, all that jazz. That's the name. Don't think about anything else. That's a name. Right. That's the name. That's the name. That's it. Outta Sight. So that's the name.
Like it. Yeah. That's awesome. Yep. All right. So combining both things, what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur? And then you could kind of piggyback that on with, how do you manage work-life balance?
The favorite part of being an entrepreneur, I guess we touched on it earlier, is the flexibility with your schedule. More so even now, you know, having a family, for sure. It's good. There are plenty of times that I work late. It's just the nature of this particular business. Absolutely. And I do miss dinner with my family and stuff. Absolutely. And it's not fantastic, you know. Sure. My wife works all day herself, and then she has our 3 children who are all under the age of, you know, 10. Yeah. And everything. So that's a little tough at times, but unfortunately it kind of is what it is. And I always remind her, you're the one who bought me the tattoo machine, right? So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
But so I think just certain people's personalities too, like I probably even had mentioned earlier, like dictate that you just want to be in control of what you're doing. Yeah. I probably just mentioned not too long ago about OCD, and I will, you know, confirm on air that I have a slight tad bit of that, which probably lends itself to my artistic, you know, ability and stuff as well. But I'm a, you know, a little rigid with certain things, or just kind of, you know, a little kooky with stuff. Yeah. But I think being your own boss is a product of even of that. Like, you know, I really don't know what I would do if I sat in a cubicle, you know, all day. Not to mention that if I shave my own face, I cut myself, and I'd have probably like little bits of like Kleenex and stuff all over my face every day if I had to be clean shaven. Right. So no corporate jobs for moi. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I like to get dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How do you leverage social media? So you post a lot, which is really nice, because kind of you alluded to earlier with the hiring process. You get to see someone's portfolio, so to speak. That also gives people an opportunity, potential customers or clients, to view your portfolio in a sense. I mean, it's not everything you ever done under the sun, but it's almost like a way in. I think it's cool, especially with social media. It makes it, and those are the benefits that come with it.
Yes. Social media is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And being the age that I am, growing up in the 70s and 80s and even into the early 90s when I started working, things have come so far. I mean, years ago you would have to literally like pay to advertise somewhere,
right?
Billboard, whatever. When I first started painting, I was in the phone book, and I guess it was kind of starting to transition to the internet.
Yeah.
And I really didn't get many calls out of the phone book. It was always been like word of mouth and referrals and stuff
Absolutely.
like that, which still is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But social media is crazy. I mean, it's basically free advertising.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, for good or bad, people can put on whatever kind of show that they want to represent themselves, which might not always be who they really are type
Right.
of thing, what I mean? So that's a
Yeah.
little like, I don't know, like, you really getting the full picture, or you're just going by what you see.
Sure.
And you could be fooled a little bit by that. And I know a lot of the younger people now are really like, I mean, they've grown up with it, so they live their life through the social media.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that I'm a little bit older and I've seen both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
But purely from like a business standpoint, it's amazing. You can, at any time of day, as many times a day, you can put whatever you want to put on there. I mean, you can advertise the heck out of your business.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, it goes out to just about everyone. I mean, I have people from other countries that follow the page and stuff like that, which is crazy. I mean, people I'll never meet. I have no idea who they are or whatever, but for some reason they stumbled onto it, whether it was through a hashtag or whatever, which I'm kind of, still getting used to the hashtag thing, trying to get a little creative with those and everything. But, it's awesome. I mean, it's totally awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So for anyone that needs to reach you or wants to reach out to you, what are your social media handles, or do you have a website, or what's the address or phone number of your shop?
Basically, it's just the name of the shop on Facebook and Instagram, which is Outta Site Studios. Spell it properly though, Outta. Site, SIGHT, and Studios, STUDIOS, obviously. So Outta Site Studios, and it's the same on both, and that's pretty much the extent of what we have. No separate web page or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Not for the tattoo shop. I used to have one for the murals and whatnot, and everything, but that is defunct now. So everything goes through the Instagram and Facebook stuff.
So
and that's the best way to reach me too. Sorry to interrupt, but obviously you can message the page on both of those, and that's how we kind of, break the ice and get the ball rolling. Someone could kind of send me a picture, or at least give me a few of their ideas and whatnot, and we can get the ball rolling that way. But we do require the person ultimately, to come in, especially if you're a first timer. It's good to always meet in person and really talk about the idea. I'd rather much talk to someone in person than just read something and everything, especially when it comes to something creative. It's always good to physically see the person and talk to them, and I can sketch while we're talking even, and this and that. And we do require a $50 deposit, by the way,
there you go,
to book the appointment. So
love it. All right, cool. Our last question of the day.
Oh, he saved the best for last too.
The heavy hitter.
Yeah, now I'm really starting to sweat.
What is your motivation? So I mean, and it could be something as base, as simple, as revenge, or it could be, most of us here, obviously it's our family, and the
without
legacy
a doubt
we want to leave.
Yeah. Well, I think I have two separate ones.
Cool.
Obviously, owning the business and trying to make as good of a living as I can.
Yeah. Would
be motivated to do well for my family's sake, and obviously, give my family as much as I can and support them, as well as I possibly can. We like to venture out and do different sorts of things, and
absolutely
go to lots of nice places and fun stuff with the kids, especially while they're young now. So, just giving us the best life that we can, and everything. But artistically, I mean, I would say it's just something that I guess self-motivated, maybe. I'm not really sure how I would describe that part of it, but artistically, like, I'm not doing my art to make money per se. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Making money is a byproduct of me being an artist.
Absolutely.
And I'm thankful every day that I get up and I get to go in and do what I enjoy doing. Even though obviously after long days, you may be a little stiff here, a little sore there, a little hunched over there.
Yeah.
Posture's not that great anymore.
Yeah.
It's a little crooked, you know what I mean? But it's something that I love to do. Whatever medium I'm working in, you know, I'm having the time of my life when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So artistically, I would say that's just something that comes from within, that I've always had in me from the time I was, you know, very little. And I guess one last thing I'll throw in is with that. I always remember from when I was young, just starting, and it's probably part of my OCD. You know, when I was coloring in the coloring book and everything, you know, the initial picture is just a black outline.
Yeah.
But it always drove me crazy that it didn't go like all the way to the edge of the page.
Yeah.
The picture's always kind of like in the middle,
center,
and there's like an inch or two around it, right?
Right.
So I would get the black crayon and I would finish the picture all the way off the edge, and then I would color it in. And of course, I was very like crazy about staying in the lines.
Right.
You know, push hard, it's dark. Light, it's lighter, and mix the two
That's
colors
awesome.
on top of each other. But yeah, I'm talking like really, really little, you know. And I think that was the beginning of me kind of starting to draw, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
That's awesome.
and the rest is history.
I like it.
You know what I
Good
mean?
stuff.
So, I would just say, parents, if you have any children who are into art or show any sign that they are enjoying art, let them go, support them, buy them, whatever it is, age appropriate. If it's just crayons, you know,
Absolutely.
colored pencils, markers. If you get an occasional marker up the steps like we have at our house, or, you know, a little graffiti piece on the wall by your 3-year-old,
Right.
encourage it, let them go.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's at an all-time high for the type of art and the different mediums that you can work in with the computer and other things like that. But it all starts, you know, on paper by hand, and cultivate the arts, let your children, you know, explore their creativity. And I'm glad that I was able to do that. So
Absolutely. I love it.
Awesome.
yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so there you have it, folks. We like to close our episodes out with quotes, and the first one is by Jim Rohn. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And the second one by Conrad Hilton. Success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. Out of Sight Studios. In this episode, we had special guest Tom Rudesyle. We covered topics that range from being an artist, entrepreneurship, freelance and commissioned work, tattoos, and much more. We wrapped the episode up with quotes from Jim Rohn and Conrad Hilton. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.